I laugh in my sleep, apparently. I
I
giggle like a madman.
Laura tells me that I whimper sometimes. I whimper. And I go, "Oh, oh." And she goes, "It's just a dream, Sam. It's just a dream." And I go, "Oh,
That's adorable.
I don't know if I want that sweet side of me out in the public eye.
Hey, it's alright.
I think my bad guy image is like
Yeah.
important to keep up.
Yeah, you should probably tell people you don't ever sleep. Sleeping's for pussies.
How's it being back on the land?
Yeah, it's good. I got my regular legs back.
Yeah.
I no longer have sea legs.
Do you feel the call of the sea calling you back out?
I did. Whenever I went to bed, I felt like everything was moving.
Really?
Yeah, for about 4 days. It's
Wait,
weird.
on the cruise or when you were home?
No, on land. When I got off the
Wow.
cruise, the first 4 nights, when I was lying in bed, I felt it going like, but it wasn't. Apparently, it's a thing,
That's weird.
and I missed that because I did sleep pretty well on the cruise.
Being rocked to sleep.
Yeah, it's the best.
Do you sleep in a hammock in a room with other sailors?
Like a pirate ship.
Like a pirate ship?
I did have a hammock, but it was outside. I do wonder if
You had your own hammock?
I had my own hammock, yeah.
What the...
I do wonder if
hell?
having a hammock in my bedroom and sleeping in a hammock might actually be the best.
Yeah.
But I think, would people judge you for that? They'd be like, you freak, you've got like a net in the middle of your room.
Well, are you going to have a bed and a hammock?
No, just a hammock.
Okay. How are you going to get up to business in your hammock? Is that doable, do you think?
I don't know.
Yeah, double hammocks?
I've never tried having sex in a hammock before. Well, double hammocks would be even worse because then you have to sort of swing into each other.
Well, my understanding, and please correct me if I am wrong, is that there is such thing as a sex hammock.
A sammock.
No.
Oh.
I don't really know. What is it?
Hamcock.
I feel like probably one of you is on the hammock, the receiver of sex.
And the other one stands.
And the other one is sort of uses the hammock.
Would it be more like a swing, and then one of you? I
Well,
guess
definitely
the guy sits down, and then the lady sits on top of him, or the guy.
It's interesting because you think of these sort of crazy sex toys or whatever, gadgets, furniture, I suppose, being sort of
my sex furniture.
Yeah, as being like devious, fiendish, sexy things, but they're probably almost entirely got by people in very long-term loving relationships.
Yeah,
right. Because if you're single and you're buying like copious sex furniture,
yeah,
then it's probably. I mean, maybe they're people on Field like that. You're on Field.
I am on Field.
Do people on Field? If you don't know, Field is like Tinder, but for like polite creeps.
Okay.
Right? for like devious fiends.
It's like BDSM folk.
But like in a nice way.
There's a lot of autistic people on Field, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Which I think there's a heavy crossover. I might be wrong, but I think BDSM has a heavy autistic crossover because it's all very structured, is my theory on that.
This is the next in a string of potentially offensive assumptions that
Oh,
Luke
yeah.
is
This
backing up.
is the theory.
Yeah.
This is not...
It's just a theory.
Just
you
a
can't
theory.
say any offensive thing and go, it's only a theory.
Why not?
Because it's your theory.
I'm just saying what's in my head.
Yeah. No, I
I'm
believe
not-
there is like a
I'm not
connection between
convinced
the
that this is completely
autistic
correct.
people in the kink community.
Because it is very like, here are the rules. Here's where it's no. Here's where it's yes.
Yeah.
And then you define that like with words.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say regular sex, or is all
Like you don't need...
it's all great. I don't know. It's like
Okay, so your theory is that
non-communicative.
regular sex is too simple, so there's no need to introduce rules. But the autistic people love rules, and they're like, okay, how can we mix things up a bit to the point that... So you're saying that autistic people are essentially claiming to be into spanking and all this stuff. What they really gets them going is a nice set of rules.
I just think that's a more comfortable environment to be in if you have difficulties in knowing where
I mean, they could just
The
play a board
implied-
game. That's what I do.
I think there's heavy crossover with the autistic community there as well.
How dare you? How dare you? I actually go to a board game festival every year.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly sure. I'm fairly
No
sure.
one's autistic because I'm looking at the floor the whole time.
Yeah, I've never looked any autistic person there in the eye. No, I do think there's a lot of autistic people
Yeah.
there. Although interestingly, not much discussion of autism. I think sort of undiagnosed. I think basically, if you're into board games, then you're having a lovely time. Great fun, right?
Yeah.
Who needs a diagnosis? You're just playing board games and you're having fun.
Yeah, I don't think people do need diagnosis all the time. Sometimes I think it's better to just be yourself.
I want one.
Yeah,
I
well,
want a diagnosis.
I thought you got one.
I got of what?
ADHD.
Yeah, but I cheated. I was too scared they weren't going to give me the drugs, so I just was like, yeah, really bad to everything. And I was like, is it that bad? But I was like, really bad. It's really bad.
They're supposed to have little sneaky ones, though.
Yeah, but they're dealing with a fucking genius here. They're dealing. What are their sneaky ones?
I don't know. I'm not the guy, but apparently they do ones where it's like you would think that the ADHD answer is this, but actually we're asking about this.
Well, I do live with someone with quite severe ADHD. Sort of like uncontestable. Like it's for sure. Yeah. So, I can use that as a baseline. I can just pretend to be my girlfriend.
What would Laura do?
What
would Laura do?
Yeah.
I'm going to get up and leave this assessment now.
Yeah. I was in a situation the other day where I was just like walking around and I was the only person not sitting down. And I remembered one of the things. It's like, do you often walk around in situations where it's like not, it's not considered like reasonable to be doing so? And
on a roller coaster.
I remember at the time being like, well, no, not really. Like I do pace around constantly, but I think that's reasonable.
I feel like I often see you
If
pacing.
anyone tells me like, why are you walking around? Can you stop pacing? It's unreasonable. I'm like, how dare you? It is reasonable.
You are a pacer. I've seen you pace. That's how my mental image of you is pacing.
I just don't see how your brain can go if your body's not. If my body's going, my brain's like, oh fuck, we're on the move. Go, 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 go. But if it's sitting down, my brain's like, sleepy time.
Would you rather do this pod on the move? We could do this on the move.
It genuinely probably would be less mental strain on me.
How do we
And
keep
it is
you on
a
the move?
lot of mental strain on me.
You struggle every week with this.
I have to both consider making eye contact with you and the general public.
Do you look at the camera?
Sometimes I do. I know you basically look at me.
I look at you.
I know.
Is that wrong? Should I be looking at them?
I think you're looking at me.
See, but that to me is a machine.
And the public is looking at you.
That's not the public. That's just a machine.
But it represents my
do
every want and desire. Validation.
See, I have such strong people skills that I'm just absorbed in you and nothing else.
Well, good for you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry. No, I'm happy you have good people skills. And I probably do too. Maybe?
You have kind people skills.
How would you describe me? No. Oh, please, no. Okay, sorry. That's not... Welcome to a bumper episode of the Fleapit.
What's a bumper episode?
Like good.
Oh, yes. Welcome to another good episode of... what ones have not been bumper episodes?
Well, what I really mean, I don't know what bumper... I hate it when people are like, what does that word you used mean? Because I'm like, I don't know. My brain's just done it.
Well,
and it
I
feels
don't know.
right.
I don't know what you mean.
Another bumper episode.
Another humpity-bumpity episode.
Surely you know... Oh, this is a bumper. I think bumper...
It's a cribbly-sprobbly episode,
It means like fully packed. Like if you got every meat in a Subway sandwich, you'd be like, that's a bumper sub.
That's a chock-a-block. I'd say that's chock-a-block.
I'd only say that if it was a chocolate. Have they done chocolate Subways?
That thing is stuffed.
Yeah, have you ever had a chocolate pizza?
Max
a dessert
stuffed.
pizza?
Yeah, I've had a Nutella pizza thing.
Was it nice?
No. But it was fine.
You don't like chocolate?
I don't like chocolate or Nutella, really. So that was my problem with it.
Well, the reason this is a bumper episode is because we're reviewing not one, not 3, but 2 films.
It's the correct amount.
It's a perfect amount. We're going to be going over Warfare by Alex Garland and what's he called? Rigo Mendoza.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Is he Special Sergeant or something?
No. I think it's something Mendoza.
Yeah.
And Sinners by the Cougs.
The Cougs.
Ryan Coogles.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogly Eyes. As he's known in the biz. 2 new releases that have been getting a lot of buzz.
Yes. Both of them. Or just...
Both of them.
Yeah, is it? Yeah.
Well, Sinners has been getting like probably
Sinners
more
has been
buzz,
getting universal
but
praise.
they're both in the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes.
I didn't see any reviews of Warfare.
Yeah, people have been enjoying Warfare as well.
All right.
So I think we're gonna probably get started.
Yeah, let's launch in.
Should we crack into Warfare?
Yes, let's lock and load.
So Warfare is a new movie written and directed by Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza.
Nice.
Alex Garland, you'll know from loads of stuff. 28 Days Later, Ex Machina,
Civil War.
Annihilation. And yeah, of course, Civil War, which he made with Ray Mendoza, who was on the crew of that film. And he got chatting to Ray Mendoza. And Ray Mendoza was a Navy SEAL who served in Iraq during the war. And Alex Garland was like, hey, how about we make a movie about what you got up to?
Yeah.
And Ray Mendoza was like, yes. So they wrote and directed this film together, which is set over one day in one place with a bunch of Navy SEALs on a
mission.
On a mission, trying to survive. A real-time war thriller based entirely on Ray Mendoza's experience and the remembered experience of the other people.
Yeah, it was a real
in the squad.
it's a real operation they went on.
A real operation in...
And it's all the memoirs of the people involved in it.
Yes. Well...
Knitted together into a coherent
I think memories probably rather than memoirs.
Memories, yeah.
It's not their entire lives. It's one afternoon.
No, it's their whole lives. It's a long movie.
What do you like war movies, Luke?
I do like war movies. I don't like all war movies. I like the good war movies. No, I do like a war movie. I think war movies are interesting. I think they are a good setting for seeing a huge plethora of humanity in general.
Yeah.
It raises lots of moral questions, lots of cool historical stuff as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would say they can feel a little bit samey.
Mm-hmm.
This did not feel samey. This
No,
is probably the most
certainly not.
intense war movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I haven't felt one that was... I've never been this emotionally invested in a war movie before.
Really? Okay,
I would say
so go
that.
on. Tell me what you thought of Warfare.
Because I would say something about war movies in general, they still feel like movies for the vast majority of them, which I know sounds like an insane thing to say. I'd say this film didn't really feel like a movie in the traditional sense. It felt like you were in the operation with them.
Yeah.
It sort of reminded me a little bit of like This Is England in the way, which is a mental comparison in some ways, but it's the way that the dialogue felt very real. The acting felt completely naturalistic. And so it's got this almost documentary feel to it, even though it is a scripted movie, which just makes the emotional stakes for me so much higher.
It's a real time story of something that really happened, and it's obviously a significant day in the lives of these people, but it's not like a huge famous battle or something that you know the result of.
It's quite a grounded human drama.
Yeah, it's just taking you through a few hours in the lives of
and also because
people in a very intense situation.
Yeah, because it's almost is an action movie in the sense that it's one like confrontation spread across an hour and a half. And I think that also means that it doesn't let up. Once it starts, it's such an intense... You're in a battle from start to finish with no idea how it's going to go. And I think because they're not famous battles or something like that, it's also got that element of like, I don't know who's going to make it.
Yeah.
And also, I felt like it had a really good... I mean, I kind of wanted someone to make a movie like this for quite a long time because I always felt that war movies, as I said before, sort of felt like movies. And I sort of felt there was an opportunity for someone to really capture like the actual emotional impact that a battle has on people and how it feels. And I felt like the whole thing felt chaotic and disordered and almost kind of pointless. It just felt like such a mess, and there was points in it that really felt.
So just to give like a tiny bit of background of what's actually happening, they're and again no spoilers at this point.
Yeah, of course.
But they're holed up in a house in an Iraqi town, and which I think is a sort of central. It's a important place for them to like have access to militarily. Or something. We don't get much information as to
sort of trying
why they're on the operation.
Yeah, they're like observing a potential. I don't know, group of assailants or whatever.
Yeah,
and they're not sure if they're armed or not, and then
so it
develops into a confrontation.
Yeah, it starts with them taking over a house from a member of the public, and they are staying in there, trying to be as silent as possible, looking out to view other people and see if anyone can figure out that they're there, and see if they're going to get attacked, or see if they need to move on or anything like that. So it is a very, very tense, stressful, realistic, single location.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost feels weird to call it a thriller because you're right, it has got this documentary feel to it.
Yeah, but it's got that
following
feeling
them in
of
this. It's got this.
It's relentless,
on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
It's terrifying,
and it's really interesting because it's not like a movie in the sense that there's not really a central character that you follow. It's very much spread between an ensemble cast. But you do get or I felt like I was very connected to certain characters throughout it, even though you probably had about 5 minutes screen time with some of them.
Right.
On like a 1-to-1 sort of basis. But you feel, I don't know, I feel like there's so much, I don't know, it's just like, oh, just get out of there. It's horrible. But even also the side characters, like there was 2 sort of supporting Iraqi soldiers with them. And then there's a whole...
there's two translators
who
can speak. I don't know what language you speak in Iraq. Let's say Iraqi, and you can correct us, or Arabic or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Who are I don't actually know where they're from, but they're sort of like slightly more on the outside, the translators.
And I feel like you get such a, I don't know, I felt like it was you got such a sense of like rich, complex relationships throughout the whole movie that it doesn't really make because it's just, I guess it's just based on people's memories. It just puts it out there and lets you observe it, and you kind of fill in how you feel about it as you go. Yeah. So it's which I think actually makes the film more powerful. Whereas, sometimes if a movie's going for an arc or it's trying to point out a very specific bit to you, it can sometimes feel a bit sort of theatrical. Whereas this completely feels like, here's what happened. It's done.
Yeah.
You decide how you feel about that. And because I really feel like it doesn't hold back. Like, you see them do some pretty questionable stuff in terms of morals. And it's not really, there's no music. The whole thing is just real noise going on. I think there's one scene with music at the beginning when they're watching a movie, and that's it. The rest of it is just, here you go, you're in this thing for the whole start to finish. Yeah. And it's unbelievably intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say some people will hate this movie. I think other people think it's quite amazing.
I'm sure a lot of people would not have a good time.
I wouldn't say I had a good time watching it. I was stressed. I also fainted.
You fainted?
Yep, of course I fainted.
At a violent moment.
Yeah,
okay, we can come into that.
When we get to spoilers, you'll know which bit I fainted.
That's amazing. I would agree with pretty much everything you said. It's incredibly intense, stressful movie. I asked you what you thought of war movies. I've definitely seen war movies that I've enjoyed. It's a genre I'm not drawn to at all, and I think in big part because, for me at least, it has this sort of, I've talked on the podcast before about like movies that sort of appeal to the kind of macho bloke mindset, whether it's gangsters or whether it's like certain, I don't know, sci-fi things or whatever. And a lot of war movies have felt like there's this weird kind of thing in the back of men's heads that they're like kind of excited by war, and they're like, imagine if I was in a war. And they're like obviously horrified by it and whatever, but also a bit kind of like excited and titillated. And
it could be a hero or
and I just very much don't have that in me at all. I just think they seem horrible and grim, and it's not a setting that like gets me excited like it would for a lot of people.
You're not the kind of guy who's like, I want to go down in a blaze of glory in a final stand.
No.
That's not romantic to you.
I'm also not a guy that wants to read a 900-page book about the first 2 years of the Second World War or whatever it is, or
the 5 fatal flaws of Stalin's regime.
Yeah. But this movie is, like you say, really different to any war movie I've ever seen. It's just putting you in and there are lots I've not seen. I've kind of imagined that maybe something like 1917 might have some similarities to this, which I've not seen, because that's like a one take.
No, thing. But again, I'd say it's not got the same. It's got like a cinematic feel to it that sort of creates this layer of distance.
Yeah,
that makes it feel. I don't know if heroic's the right word, or like something.
Yes.
Like,
okay. I know, but I think
like
that's a really good word to be using, right? And I think that's the other thing that a lot of war movies have, is they have this kind of, assuming they're not being critical of, assuming they're not an anti-war movie particularly, there's this kind of look at these heroes element to them, and I think
even if sometimes that's implicit, it does have that feeling of like good guys, bad guys fighting against.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
And it's hard, not to have that a little bit in this film, because there are people who are being very impressive in this very stressful situation. I think the other thing is, like, this is not a group of people who need to kill Hitler. This is not a group of people who are doing one vital mission. It's basically a group of people who are in a very tough situation and need to survive. And you don't even really know, apart from the vague context of the Iraq War, why they are there or whatever. It's not like they have this amazingly important mission to fulfill. It's just like people who are in some shit, and let's hope they get out alive by the end of it.
Yeah.
And it is very, very tense. There is a lot of this film with no action. And there are, not huge, big action set pieces of people hiding behind things and shooting and throwing grenades, and like huge stretches of the movie, nothing happens.
And it's almost one room.
A lot of the movie is in one room.
Yeah.
And I actually found, if I'm honest, the bits of the movie where nothing was happening, my favourite bits. The first half of the film, there is basically no action at all.
Yeah.
A huge amount of the first, or maybe not a huge amount, but the most impressive for me part of the film is they're in this house and they knock a small hole in the wall of this house, and there's a sniper lying on the bed just looking through the looking at the crosshair through the scope in his sniper, looking at Iraqi civilians, you assume, walking around the town, putting the crosshair like on people and just watching them, trying not to breathe, trying to see what's going on. And you just see little things, like you see someone like walk behind a wall somewhere, and you're like, where's he going? And then you see him come out, and then he comes back with another guy, and you're like, oh, we're both going to this place. And there's this sort of silent storytelling happening, all like through the eyes of this person who's like, don't breathe, don't give away your location. Occasionally you see people look towards the house, and it's like,
it's got that
so
kind of
intense.
It's got that kind of a Gunda effect, where it, like, you're watching something so slow and passive that it forces your brain to almost empathize a lot more.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
makes
because
you
I
think...
felt like, I agree with you. There was something, particularly watching him observe the people, you sort of felt like you were in his brain in a way that I've never felt in a war movie ever. I've always felt disconnected from the people, or again, like I'm watching avatars of people, whereas this felt really like your mind is just going to place. It's kind of
Yeah.
meditative, but with this sense of foreboding. But there's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
music
yeah.
it doesn't feel like a manipulative film in the way that, you know,
No,
music
that's exactly what
can
you're.
guide
It's
your...
exactly what you're saying. It just
Mm.
puts you. It just shows you what they're seeing, and you start like looking at people outside, and you're like, "There, oh, there's something wrong with that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a
It's
he's
basically
he's Taliban. That
any
guy.
young man you see, you're like, wait.
And then you're in your head. You're going like, why am I
Why?
thinking
Yeah.
that? Like this is just like some people walking around like a market square, and yeah, I don't know, very very intense. And then there's a few pivotal moments, and then it turns into a more intense and a more violent film down the road. And yeah, we won't give anything away. But I found it very stressful, very edge of my seat. I think like you say, I wouldn't necessarily say I enjoyed it in the way that like stressful, realistic films are not. You know, it's not. You know, it's not going to see Wicked or something like that.
It's not one you're gagging to rewatch.
But I thought it was really brilliant.
Yeah,
I think it became slightly less interesting once the sort of violence and action started. There was still a lot of good stuff there, and feels weird saying this. To me, it felt like it petered out a little bit at the end. I didn't, and you know what? It's telling a true story, so it's kind of hard to criticize what is just the events that took place. But I was like, absolutely like, holy shit for the first hour, and then for the final 10 minutes, I was like, okay, and then it ended and it was fine. So yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was really great. I thought it made war look awful. It made war look... Basically, makes it look really boring, really tiring. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and it's
right?
completely confusing.
You think about war, or at least maybe I think about war, or the media presentations of war as this kind of, you know, exciting thing, you're going on a mission. Reality of it is it's like boring, miserable, hard work.
Yeah.
Waiting for hours, sitting in hot fucking army
the
gear.
worst Duke of Edinburgh you've
Yeah,
ever
yeah, yeah. Miserable. And then all of a sudden, like, someone shoots your mate in the head, or whatever it is that happens, right?
Yeah.
Not saying that happens in this film, but just like that shift from like banality to brutality was so shocking and intense, and really did not feel like it was glamorizing war for me at all. It felt very unglamorous.
But because it's also interesting with the intentions of the filmmakers as well, because Ray Mendoza said he just made it as a he made it for one of the soldiers, I think his name's Elliot, who's in the mission, and he just made it as a tribute to what they all went through.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said he really didn't have any intentions to present anything other than as accurate reconstruction as possible. Which I think it seems like he's really, really achieved.
Yeah, I think he's done a good job.
He was expecting people not to like it.
And equally, Alex Garland's Civil War was again trying not to, I think, be too political. But both movies have had some criticism. And I think, you know, it's obviously expected. The Iraq War is like very, very controversial. And it's very hard to make a movie about the Iraq War without people reading some kind of point into it.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to read out a review that I saw on Letterboxd about this film that I thought we could respond to, Luke.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I actually we can go into spoilers, but I actually
Should we go
think
to spoilers from now on?
No, not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Okay.
Wait, what am I doing?
But I'd say 100% worth a watch because it feels very unique to me in terms of the war movie genre.
if you have a gentle disposition and you don't want to have a spooky time, don't see this movie.
If you're faint-hearted like me,
Yeah.
I mean, go see it. I thought it was great.
This is a quote from a Letterboxd review by Jeremy, who gave it 2 stars. Its real offence, however, is its implication as a story about bravery and heroism. Let's be clear, the Iraq War produced no American heroes. America's invasion into Iraq is one of the most sinister blights in American history, a haunting exemplification of manufactured consent. The film asks us to sympathise with the brutality of warfare that these Navy SEALs endured, but none of the soldiers who partook in this war were forced to do so. There was no draft. They volunteered. Knowing this, my sympathies lie not with the American soldiers. They are victims of nothing but the consequences of their own actions. My sympathies lie with the Iraqi children who had their homes invaded, demolished, or bombed throughout those 8 years. My sympathy lies with the mother and fathers. And anyway, you get it.
Yeah, okay.
So I thought that was an interesting point. I disagree with that take. But how would you respond to Jeremy?
I mean, I agree with the sense. I completely disagree that the film is a glorification of war or American heroism. I really didn't have any of that feeling going through. I felt like their operation felt pointless at the end. And also I feel like it's unfair to say they chose to join the army, so they're stuck with it. I'm like, you get stuck into contracts. And I think the Iraq War was also a change in... I don't think these soldiers did know what they were signing up to a lot of the time.
Yeah,
soldiers don't really have control over the narratives of war.
That would be my biggest point, right?
And they're stuck. They go to jail if they refuse. So it's not like it's free choice.
I think when civilians of a country are like told that, you know, we're going to war and we need your help, and they're a patriotic person and they join and they think they're helping, and you know, they almost certainly did not like understand the complexities, most of these people, of the Iraq War and what they were doing. And they just you grow up in this culture in America where just like military people are heroes, and by joining the army you're a hero. Also, and you're never told to question that. And yeah, they are free thinking people, but you know, I think the expectation of it's clearly the government that is at fault, not the soldiers.
Also, like, most soldiers are like 18. They're like children.
Exactly.
They're not their prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. A lot of them are like, a lot of people join the army because it's a escape from whatever. They might be in some shit situation at home.
Yeah.
And the army's an escape and just seems like a better lifestyle. And then you're stuck you have to go to war at that point. It's a really, I feel like it's a really unfair thing to throw at the actual specific soldiers. I'm like, you don't know what their situations for joining are, and it's not as simple as their choice. Fuck them.
Yeah,
but I think you can still be sympathetic to that and sympathetic to the plight of, you know, all the Iraqis who had a completely unfair war thrown at them. It's... I don't think you have to be either or. I'm like, if you can empathize with everyone involved. This is an absolute shit show of a situation, which I think everyone agrees with.
Yeah.
So I think it's unfair to... I think that summarization of the movie is not fair.
Yeah, I would agree.
And a bit unempathetic. Like, it's...
I think you can sympathize with the soldiers and the situation they were in without having to admit anything about the Iraq War or saying that, like, you know, these are human beings that were in a terrible situation. And yes, the civilians in Iraq were put in a terrible situation as well. And there are civilians in this movie who, you know, their fucking house is destroyed and they're put in a terrible situation as well. And it asks you to sympathize with them as well. Yes, the focus is on the soldiers, and I guess you could be like, well, you know, really we should be making a movie about Iraqi civilians or whatever, but I don't like the idea that all art has to be kind of the most virtuous form of activism that it can be.
Also,
like, you're allowed to make a movie about the Iraq War that isn't about how the Iraq War is terrible.
Yeah,
you can believe that or not believe that, and we're allowed to. That's what makes everything's so polarized and boring is if you
Mm.
can't, it's like as comedians, right? We might want to make a joke about the Iraq War, maybe assuming, I mean, we're too thick to do so, but if we did, we might assume that the audience would have a similar opinion to us. Maybe
Yeah.
they wouldn't some of the time, but I wouldn't feel like there's a moral imperative for me to be like, and just so you know, guys, the Iraq War is bad.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, completely.
Fucking hell, like not all art has to be a story about the real victims.
Yeah.
If it just made the like Iraqi civilians seem bad, and like if it was distorting the truth, then I would agree with that. But I think it was just giving a true, very real snippet of the war, and that was really powerful.
There's also only so much that a movie can focus on as well.
Yeah.
Which I think if you take too broad a focus, it takes away from the depth of one issue very thoroughly explored, and I'm just like, make that movie if you want to see that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, no one's like getting in your way of doing that. That's and like, I agree, I would love to watch that movie as well, but if I watched that movie, I wouldn't suddenly be like, but what about the American soldiers who got unfairly placed in something they didn't know they were getting involved? Like, it's just sort of like, well, that's not the focus right now. It's fine to focus on this, and then we can look at this another time or whenever. It's
And I think there's a sort of more milder version of that point that is fair and could be said, which is, for example, that Hollywood controls the media, and we definitely do get like American focused stories more.
Yeah.
And there are not stories being made about like the Iraqi civilians who have been killed. And I think that's a fair point
but that's
to make.
just like, I would like to have seen.
Try making that point, Jeremy, then I will agree with you.
Yeah, because it just seems unfair to call the film shit because it doesn't do that. Is a bit like, well, I don't think that's fair.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's Warfare. Literally the only other point I had was that they talk in code a lot, which is very real. But I got a little bit annoyed by, because I was like, I don't know what you're saying. Alpha Bravo to the Delta majority. 2 points east, upwards, tango.
Yeah.
and they kept talking about the Cassavac, and I'd never heard of a Cassavac, and they kept talking about. And I think they were the like the vehicles that came in later in the movies. But I was like, it would be nice for one of you to be like, oh yeah, those machines that we got.
Let's just consider the audience for one moment, guys.
Which I mean, it's fair enough, because they just wanted to create an entirely true recreation, and it did basically work. But there were a couple of points where I was like, it would be nice to know a little bit of
like, it kind of added to the disorientation for me.
Yeah. I think that's probably true.
Giving you an element of not fully understanding. Because I also reckon there's probably are soldiers who just have, like, they've done all the training, but they can't remember specific bits, and they're like, oh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's Warfare.
Yes.
Let's go into Sinners.
You're going into Sinners?
Or do you want to... Sorry, no, you were going to talk about... No, I want to hear when you fainted in Warfare.
Oh, okay, well, spoilers. I fainted when they fucking blew his legs off.
Yeah.
But, you know...
That was like the whole second half of the movie.
God, well, that was to me, that was the bit that I just found so difficult. When they're both screaming for, like... It felt like it went on for an hour or something, where they're just like...
A lot of watching people in the worst pain imaginable. And it's very, very hard to watch.
Yeah, which I actually thought was, like, kind of brilliant, because I do think I think this is what war movies really, they often have a scene where someone dies and it's a bit horrible, but it's not drawn out in this sort of one-to-one time frame where I'm like, yeah, but the soldiers would just have to sit with their friend dying for so long.
Well, it was no like, tell my mother, I loved her.
No, it's
there
just
were
screaming.
Some people immediately killed, and then lots of people just injured in such unbelievable, and horrible ways.
And they seem like very, they're all sort of like tough. It's also the fact that you see one of the veterans go down, and he seems like he's been in control the whole thing, and then you just see him completely break down into just animalistic like pain. Right. He's crying and begging them not to touch him and stuff like that. And it's just so like, you're just it's just so sad. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just don't want anyone to have to go through that. And then I thought the scene where the really macho backup Marine comes in and just steps on his leg by accident and is like, come on, bitch, like, let's go.
That's so horrible.
Um,
when that guy is like,
and you want him to go away, and you're so angry with him, and you feel this really strong connection between who is actually Ray. That is Ray, the guy portraying him, who has to sit on his leg. Okay. And you feel the relationship between him and the injured guy has become so intense at that point.
Yeah,
like he's so invested in him being okay that when this Marine comes in, it's such a vibe change, and it's so ugly, and you feel like you want to just shoot that guy.
yeah, it's so horrible.
And I felt like the movie was so good at capturing all of those complex emotions going on.
Right. I would say maybe this is the only point where I slightly disagree with you on, because I feel like they're all dressed exactly the same. There's no conversation between any of them apart from when they're giving orders and talking in code. There's a lot of not speaking at all. I was like, basically didn't know the difference between any of the characters. I didn't know who was in charge. I didn't know who was in a relationship with who. Yeah. There's loads of them, and they're all, moderately similar. And there were little moments, but in terms of, if I wanted to criticize the movie, I could maybe. Well, I wouldn't do this because I think this movie is like not trying to do this, and for most movies is a really bad thing, but I think it was fine for this. There wasn't for me much like characterization, character development.
No, not at all.
All of these things. It was just but yeah, I do agree you could see that them like they would they felt for each other, and they were trying to stay strong, and all of these things, and you felt these felt their emotions in that moment. But I would like
I just have
less of a complex emotional.
I don't know. I just had such a strong image of when he can't tie the. What's it called? Tourniquet? Is that what?
Tourniquet. Yeah.
Yeah. He can't tie it, so he has to sit on it. Right. And he's like, he's like, I'm so sorry. Like this is gonna be so painful. But that image when it goes close up on his face, and he's just completely dissociated from what's going on, and he's just sitting like
the injured guy.
No, the guy's sitting on him.
Right.
And he's just looking he's just looking up like that.
Yeah.
And then he just goes into like, me. And I felt it was such a powerful, like, he's completely overwhelmed by the situation. He hates what he's doing. It's time to just, like, he's so fed up with the whole situation. And I just felt like I don't know, for some reason that scene just really stuck with me. Also, what was bizarre was when I fainted, I came to in a scene where they'd just been rocked by like a shell or something. So when I was like coming out, of
oh my god,
fainting,
how long were you out for?
I have no idea. No idea. I also fully fell into the crack in the seat as well. I was on my own, and I had to like stand up because I'd fallen out my seat, and then I was like kind of flopping around trying to.
Oh my god.
It's so embarrassing.
You successfully made Luke faint.
Yeah. 5 movies on my list have successfully made me faint.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Great. Anything else you wanted to say about Warfare?
No. I just thought it was very good, very intense, very horrible.
Yeah.
Kind of amazing.
I really enjoyed it. It's tough movie to sit through. I was a bit tired of it by the end, but I thought it was very, very impressive, and would recommend it to people with strong constitutions. Should we get into Sinners?
Yeah, what a completely different movie.
Sinners, very different by Captain Googly Eyes, as we've mentioned. I think we are going to keep this very spoiler light. Like we'll give away as little of the movie as possible before spoilers, because I think there's a lot that can be given away about this movie, some of which apparently is given away in some trailers, but I didn't know anything about this movie.
The director in interviews has also just said.
Okay. I didn't know anything about this movie going in, and I think that probably is the way.
Yeah.
So
let's try and keep it like that for you guys.
We will keep it mysterious until we get into
I'd say
spoilers.
I also went in the same way. I didn't know anything about it.
So, Sinners, new movie by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan as twins.
What?
In the 1930s in the South, Mississippi, is it? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Somewhere like that.
Something like that. Playing sort of gangster twins who have come back.
Smokestack.
The Smokestack twins.
Yes.
Called Smoke and Stack.
So together they make Smokestack.
So, yes, it's very clever.
I love it.
They've come back from a stint in Chicago and are trying to shake things up in this small town where they're from. So they along with their cousin, decide they're going to start a juke joint, essentially a bar with music in the town.
That plays the blues.
Yeah, their cousin plays the blues. But there's some not very nice goings on in the town. There's the remainder of the Ku Klux Klan and also some other potential horrible goings on, which don't become fully clear until later in the film.
I was so excited to see how you would keep that under wraps.
It has been described as I'm going to call it a thriller. I would call it a period thriller film. It's been getting rave reviews from critics, from audiences, from everyone. What did you think of Sinners, Luke?
Everyone gave it rave reviews.
Well, no, not everyone, but it's been getting very, very good reviews.
Yeah.
From a lot of places.
I don't know. I had mixed feelings about it. Some of it I thought was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it I actually just didn't like. I don't know. It's so hard to talk about this movie without talking about the massive fucking spoilers in it.
Okay, well, you can.
I thought it was very.
We'll say that there are sort of two halves for this movie.
Yeah,
there is a pivotal moment in the middle of this movie, and there's a sort of before and after.
Yeah,
and I don't know if your feelings changed before or after that, but maybe you could, without giving away what that pivotal point is.
That's it. Yeah, I preferred the first half of the movie. I thought the first half of the movie was really interesting, and I was very intrigued to see where it was going. I mean, obviously the twist is kind of foreshadowed at the beginning, but yeah, I don't know. I felt like the sort of twist then changed the movie in a direction that I didn't care for as much as I did in the first half, and I kind of felt a little bit. And I've seen movies that have done that before, and I've enjoyed it. Whereas with this one, I felt I just would have rather watched the film from the first half to its conclusion.
Yeah,
it felt like sort of undermined to me in a certain sense, and I kind of get where it was, what it wanted to do, and I'm definitely up for that. That ambition is kind of exciting to me, but I don't think it was pulled off in a way that felt satisfying to me.
Right.
It felt like kind of too much was going on, and at points I felt lost, and it felt a little bit messy to me. It actually did feel like 2 or 3 movies had been smashed together to me, and then it sort of didn't make any of them sort of become the central focus, and therefore I felt a little bit like, so what am I watching? Why? And for who? And so it sort of felt a bit like I was being thrown different ways.
Unfocused.
Yeah, really. But then some really impressive shots. I thought everyone's acting was amazing. I really thought all the actors were great. I love Delroy Lindo. He's always fantastic whenever I see him in a movie.
He's
the drunk. The drunk guy who watches the door at the end.
He's good.
I love him. I thought that guy Miles Caton was great, and it's his first movie, which is crazy.
Yeah, R&B star who learned to play the guitar for this film.
Really?
And he's like a musical prodigy, apparently. He's fantastic.
Oh, so he's sort of reflecting his character in real life as well.
I guess I don't really know much about him in real life, but yeah, this is an amazing musician in real life who
And I'd say also I loved the music throughout it. I felt like the whole film had this sort of musical quality to it that was there were these weird experimental scenes at points which I quite liked, and they sort of reminded me a little bit of like Moulin Rouge or something like that, where it sort of merges between a story and a music video. And I was down for that, but then I just felt the sort of the conflict at the end. I was just a bit like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, or it just wasn't as interesting as if it had been what the first half of the movie was suggesting where it was going. That would have been more interesting to me.
Cool. That's so interesting. So I thought Sinners was really entertaining. It looks amazing. Performances are really great. Some really amazing set pieces, and it's just like really cool to see a big original non-IP based blockbuster movie that is like weird and its own thing by this auteur director. People are flocking out to see it in cinemas. It's getting loads of hype. It's just an amazing thing to see when everything is just fucking Marvel or DreamWorks or whatever.
And he has made a Marvel movie as well.
He has made a Marvel
Black Panther,
movie. Yeah, that's only why he's allowed to do this, because
them.
he made Marvel. He made Black Panther and whatever else he made.
It was Black Panther 2, I think.
And and Wakanda Forever. I think he's made some other big franchise movie. I can't remember what it is. I think the only other movie I've seen of his is Fruitvale Station, which was his first film, this sort of indie movie. Anyway, despite all of that, I think this movie is so dumb. I think this is really dumb. It's way too long. It's 2 hours, 20 minutes. I was exhausted by the end. It takes ages to get going. Really long time to get going. I would say, like you, I think I enjoyed the first half more. But even so, it was like, come on, just a lot of setup.
Yeah.
Takes ages to get going. But the biggest thing by far that had me and my girlfriend like turn to look at each other probably more than a dozen times during this film, turning to look at each other in disbelief, was the dialogue in this movie. Okay? Every line is a hilarious cliche.
Right.
Every line is like, we ain't seen you boys round this town for a little while. Oh, I wrote like a few, dance with the devil enough and eventually he'll follow you home. And sometimes these lines are quite cool, but a lot of the time they're so corny. And the thing is, this movie is not camp at all.
It takes itself seriously.
It takes itself very seriously.
Yeah.
And every line like that, all the dialogue, just... I could just imagine Ryan Coogler just sitting in his office at home writing them, and like a teenage boy just being like, "This is so fucking cool. This is the coolest line I've ever written." Everything.
Do you think it's because he's made 2 Marvel movies?
Well, I don't know.
He's just put Marvel dialogue into a regular movie.
I just like could not get on board with the characters or invested in the characters, because it just was so silly and over the top. And like I say, if a movie is camp, if it's silly in a way that knows it's silly, then I can get on board with it fully because I'm having fun. But when the movie is like, has this feeling of like, this is a fucking good movie.
Yeah.
It's got that vibe. Guys, you're watching a masterpiece.
But did you think that was because of the reviews? Were you aware of the reviews being?
I was
great
aware of the reviews.
Yeah,
but it was just
because I was surprised when I came out and read reviews afterwards how universally beloved it seemed.
Yeah,
I was genuinely surprised. I was like, because there was also some really glaring, just sort of technical issues that I was like, surely this is putting people off on some level.
Right.
Like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, and it just a lot of the movie for me just felt kind of naff, and I think the dialogue is the biggest issue for me. And then it's quite cool, this like period setting, and it feels very different, and it's very like yeah.
I don't
it
know, but
looks
you've
very
seen.
cool
Well,
and-
we have seen also period settings in
But I guess
similar
it felt.
times with.
I don't know. It felt
you know,
different for like the big blockbuster kind of modern
Yeah,
blockbuster movie it was
I
doing. I don't
guess.
know. Maybe not. And then there's this huge left turn in the middle of the movie, which is, and we'll talk about this in spoilers, but like so reminiscent of another film.
Yeah. Which
It's
is tongue in
basically-
cheek and funny
Yeah.
and silly.
It is
and knows exactly what
It
is.
is basically the same plot of another film with an incredibly distinct, unique plot.
Yeah.
But I was in cinema like,
Are they going to do
no.
this?
Are they just
Yeah.
doing that film? Why they can't just do that film and pretend it's a different film? And then it's just, and yeah, and I was just thinking of that other film and being like, that film just does it in such like a fun and silly way. And this is just so serious. And there's all this stuff about like the power of music, which is like sometimes quite cool, but just didn't really land.
Yeah,
for me.
I got to say that there were scenes where I was like, oh, this movie's going where?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, no, it didn't really.
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
it didn't quite make sense. Because I thought the music was kind of the bit, to be halfway through the film, I was like, this musical stuff is great. Like, this music is really adding a sense of something to it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And it really felt like it didn't go anywhere with it.
Right.
I guess you're right. It was like a great
I
set
think-
piece, but didn't really coherently fit together with a message or something.
Well, this is what I was saying to Laura after the movie, right? Is if I watch a movie and I love the movie, then I will dig into all the themes and go, wow, what are they trying to say with this? And da, da, da. This movie, I think, is trying to say a lot about music and about Black America and about I don't know, whatever it's fucking talking about. I think it has got lots to say, and there are lots of people analysing it and
It was
talking
about
it.
cultural appropriation.
Cultural
though, is the
appropriation.
main-
Yeah.
I'd say that's the main. But again, it's difficult because the film feels like it jumps. So it,
Right.
we'll get into this later. But yeah,
But I just had no impetus to kind of dig in and explore those themes because the surface layer felt, it was just way more cheesy Hollywood than I was expecting and than I was hoping. And, you know, I don't really watch Marvel films. I don't really watch big Hollywood blockbusters unless they are known to be really great. So maybe I'm just spoiled because I watch sort of like indie movies written by smart people for smart people. But
all right, gonna upset 80% of the population with that.
That's a really like arrogant thing to be saying. But I just thought it was cheesy. I feel like I'm not. I should have some more.
Well, can we get
Clever
into
way to say it.
spoilers? Because
Yeah.
I feel like the details is really
I would
where
say.
it's at
Let
with
me
this
just see
movie in
if
terms of
anything-
criticism.
I think it's very hard to like absolutely not enjoy this movie. I think most people will have a decent time, and clearly a lot of people think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, people in my cinema were clapping at the end.
Yeah.
People whooping and cheering throughout, which is like so rare that I watch a movie where people do that.
I would find when it gets into the sort of action, thrillery, horror-y elements, I thought there were scenes and there were moments that were really exciting and really great. There's a couple of scenes with like the doorman, the juke bar that is juke joint that are really great. But I think it basically devolved into quite an ordinary like action climax
Yeah.
that was not, when I think about like how on the edge of my seat I was in Warfare, in that movie I was like, holy shit. In this, and I know this is not trying to create this intense a feeling.
One is hyper
popcorn meal
refined, and the other
movie.
one is massively grand. So it's like two different,
But then
highly stylized versus completely brutally pulled back.
I guess so. But but then I wasn't doing the other thing. You know, if you think of another highly stylized thing, if you think of Kill Bill or something like that.
Yeah, Kill Bill's on
I was watching that. A lot of Kill Bill. I'm not the biggest Kill Bill fan in the world, but I'm watching a lot of Kill Bill going, this is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
This is so cool. And just like really, I don't know, maybe not even that much, but just like really wild moments.
Well, Kill Bill's also very fun.
Yeah.
Kill Bill doesn't take itself that seriously.
And I don't know. I think for me, that's the biggest sin of Sinners.
Yeah.
Is I didn't have that much fun.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was kind of too serious to be silly.
It took itself
too slow to be.
Took itself very seriously.
Campy,
it was quite
sort
slow.
of fun.
There were great
romp.
moments.
Yeah.
But then It didn't feel like it earned or needed its left turn, and yeah, I agree with you. It was messy.
Well, should we get into spoilers so we can dig in?
Yeah,
properly?
let's get. I was fully expecting you to come in and, like everyone else, to say that it was the best film you'd ever seen.
No, really.
Just because I just.
I thought
so
you were
many
gonna
brilliant
like it, and
reviews.
I thought you were gonna say I hated it.
No.
Interesting.
Yet another film that me and Luke boringly agree on. Will our tastes ever diverge? And next time we have to watch an anime movie, probably.
Oh yeah, I'll send you some anime movies I know that you'll hate.
So that's Sinners. I'd definitely recommend Warfare over Sinners in this episode. But yeah, glad I saw it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. All right, can we talk about spoilers
Get into
now?
spoilers.
Okay, yeah. So it's a bad version of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. Not only is it doing what Dusk Till Dawn famously does, which is a normal movie and then halfway through vampires.
Yeah.
But then the whole thing is like people trapped in like a saloon bar.
Yeah.
With the vampires
Must survive
around
till
them,
dawn.
a massive vampire army, and they have to survive till dawn. This is the exact plot of Quentin Tarantino's From Dusk Till Dawn.
No, Robert Rodriguez.
But
Quentin Tarantino's in it.
No, I think Tarantino wrote it.
Did he? I think it's Robert Rodriguez. Or maybe they wrote
One
it
of them
together.
wrote it and one of them directed it.
Really? I didn't know that.
Concept from Robert Rodriguez, written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Wow.
So yeah, written by Tarantino and starring Tarantino.
Well, I take it back. Fun movie.
Yeah, which is, you know what, like From Dusk Till Dawn is not like an all-time perfect, amazing, brilliant film.
No, but it's a fun time.
But it's a really fun, silly, over-the-top, violent, exciting
it's a cartoon movie. It's like a comic.
It's cartoony. And it's also, how long is it? 1 hour, 48 minutes.
Yeah, nice.
Precisely as long as this film should have been.
How long was Sinners?
2 hours, 20, 25,
Oh,
something
it was
like
over
that.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, way over 2 hours.
Well, I felt, because, the vampire stuff was just,
It was, there was some really cool stuff in it with the vampire stuff. Like, I really liked the vampires trying to get into the... trying to get into the bar.
I did like where the Asian woman's husband comes back whilst a man's eating, and he just casually comes up and is like, "Hey, can I come in?" And it's got this whole sense of like they're all human, but they're not quite
there's
reacting
not quite
to everything
right.
correctly, and there's like this twisted humor to the whole thing.
Yeah, and I quite liked how quickly the humans were like figuring out that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
Like when Cornbread, the doorman, was going like, "Oh, so come on, let me in. I'm being polite." And they're like, "You've always come in. You never had to ask."
Yeah.
But he's just coming. He's like, "Oh no, come in." And there's a great moment where they like basically they're like pretty sure this person's a vampire and they won't let them in. And is that with Cornbread as well? Where they're like, "Well, at least give me the money that you owe me." And they're like, "Sure." And they pass the money, and their hand is just outside the thing, so the vampire can pull them out. Some really like fun, cool moments like that.
But that's like an hour and a half into the movie.
Yeah.
And also, we've established a completely different type of movie beforehand. Yeah, because I felt like they spent a lot of time trying to develop these characters, and then they just get killed off in a slasher style mentality, and you're like, all right. I don't really. I mean, I didn't feel that connected to any of the characters, to be honest.
No, not massively.
Which felt mad to be like, we've spent a lot of time with them. We should feel connected.
I spent quite a lot of the film wondering if I was racist because I couldn't tell the difference between the two main characters. And it wasn't until after the film
Michael A. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan?
To me, they were both Michael B. Jordan. But it was so annoying because the first half of the movie, one has a blue hat and one has a red hat.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, good stuff.
Yeah.
Simple, but I can remember that. Halfway through the movie, they take their hats off.
One of them's dead. Which one's the vampire?
Yeah, that was annoying me. The first half of the movie I felt was like went back and forth between being really cool and fun and like very cheesy. Like it's all cheesy, but some of it's cheesy in a good way. Like one cheesy in a good way bit is where they try and get the drunk guy to play, and he's like, I can't play for you, I've been playing for the same bar every week for 20 years. And they're like, why don't you have this cold beer? And he has it, and he's like, ooh, what time do you want?
Yeah.
Like, it's really silly, but like quite fun.
There's also like, there's snippets of good scene. Like, I love that shot as well, where they have they have the shop, and they're like chatting about getting supplies, and then the owner of the shop walks across the street to the other shop she owns, and it's just full of white people.
Right.
And it's this one continuous shot. And the shops look exactly the same. And I thought that was such a good, like, sort of way of being like, we're in segregated town here. Yeah. And it's not such a, like, it's not a clownish way of presenting it. It's such a, like, it's almost quite subtle. And like, you might not have noticed, but it's there. I thought that shot was great.
Really good moments like that.
Yeah, but then also he shoots two people in the street, and I'm like, someone would be, especially in segregated America, would be like, what you doing, boy? Like, it would be in KKK country. There's no way they let a black guy shoot people publicly.
And this one person who's like there, he shoots him he shoots him in the knee. In the knee.
Yeah, and he's a respected member of the community. Like, Smokestack, inexplicably everyone beloves. When they're going around kneecapping people.
And it was so mean. And also, the guy he shoots in the bum,
completely fine.
He's like, ooh, ow, you bloody shot me there, mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, this is the smallest reaction I've ever seen to anyone getting shot in a movie.
Blown off his arse cheek. He'll probably never sit down again. Probably can't walk ever again.
And then scenes like, so we meet Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah.
Her character, who's this like white lady who Smoke or Stack, whoever it was, used to go out with, or I can't even bloody remember. And then
her mum raised them, and then one of them started shagging her.
Okay, and then anyway, she's like, "Any of you boys gonna eat my pussy?" And then she's like, "My mum just died." I'm like, "What?" It's like The Room or something.
I forgot.
Yeah.
That is actually what happened in the train stations.
Yeah, the train station, sort of flipping between dialogue. I'm like, is no one noticing
ate my pussy and fucked me so good.
Yeah,
Mum's dead, by the way.
Mama just died. It was so stupid. And then the scene where I think it is Stack goes to see Annie, his wife. And visits the grave of their little girl, and then they have a bit of a chat, and then immediately they're just like fucking doggy style.
It also felt like it felt like you could have cut it out.
This is so.
What was so funny about that was like she hugs him, and then like brings him in close, and I was like, oh, that's the end of the scene. And it's implied that there's intimacy of any level. But like, it's literally just like, fucking turn around, let me fucking fuck you.
Really like too much. And then
it just felt like the camera, they were just looking over like, you're still here?
Yeah.
You're still here? Go away.
Later in the movie, I love the moment where she's dying, and the wife, and she's like, there's don't worry, there's someone waiting for me up in heaven. Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, can we cut to the baby grave? Just cut to the baby grave in case they forgot that her baby's dead.
There was so much of that at the end of being like, remember, the power of music can bring back the future and the past. Now let's get back to the action. It was like,
I just was not on board with the music being this like supernatural power. thing, and
Well, can we go through the allegory then? Because this is the bit which I think is gonna like was supposed to elevate the movie, right?
Right.
It's like a satire of cultural appropriation in the 1930s. Is that what it was?
That's when it was.
No, but is that what the allegory is supposed
Don't
to be
ask
about?
me what the movie's about. I was just laughing at the dialogue.
Because it's supposed to be like the vampires are white people doing cultural appropriation.
Mm-hmm.
They're stealing the music, the blues, the soul,
Yeah.
and then they want everyone to assimilate into a community. So are they supposed to be like white liberals? Is that what they're supposed to be? The liberals are being like, come join us. We want everyone to be happy. Because what confused me as well was like they all become become this one entity.
Yeah.
But then
like,
Smokestack
We
and his
want to
girlfriend
absorb
just
your culture.
Yeah.
and-
which I was like, this is kind of fun. But then also it kind of didn't make sense to me that then Smoke, the brother who gets turned into the vampire with his girlfriend, they just run away. So they're not part of the community.
Right.
Because they abandon,
because they're in the post-credits scene.
Yeah, well, you see them run away from the barn. When they start fighting in the barn, they just suddenly decide when the guy's wife gets killed, they are like suddenly like, oh fuck this, let's leave, and somehow they've overridden the power of the vampires and are now free agent vampires.
Right.
Which also makes you think, well, why not just be a vampire? Like they seem like they're having a great time in the post-credit sequence. They're still into each other. They're young and hot and free.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I really was like, wait, is this saying it's good or bad, or you can go into it and then come out unscathed, or if they lost their souls? But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was a bit messed, confused.
Felt very confused to me.
And when he starts doing the Irish jig.
So I did,
which to me was a highlight of the movie. I was like, this slaps.
When the vampires had their musical sequence, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
The joint.
That was the peak of the movie
vampires.
for me. I was like, great. But then the allegory suffers because it's like, this music seems great. So is it pro-community?
Well, one thing I heard someone talk about
Yeah.
is how the main vampire's Irish, and
Yeah.
how back then anti-Irish racism was actually huge.
Okay.
Like, no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. It
Yeah.
was like Irish people were like all not in the same way, but almost in a kind of
they were a second-class citizen.
massively a second-class citizen. So I guess they were.
But then
I don't know. I basically just like when I feel in my bones that a movie is dumb, my brain won't let me explore
oh my
the
God.
allegory in the amount of like intellectual depth that I would for a movie I really like. Because you're saying all these things, and I'm like, I think so, I guess so. But then a big part of my brain's just going, it's just stupid.
Vampires. Rah, rah, rah.
Oh God, I don't think anyone's going to listen to our podcast because I just shit on the things that people like.
I don't know. Some people. Well, no, we'll just find the very small number of people who
have
like
our
all the
exact
movies
opinions.
that we like.
I mean, there must be some. We found each other and we seem to like
That's true.
exactly the same movie.
This is true. But I mean, like, because if you can compare it to something like Get Out, which is an amazing like send up of sort of Black American culture and white American culture, but it's so focused and it's like, I don't know, like that works, and you can see exactly what the criticism is the whole way through the movie. It's fun, like it's kind of tongue in cheek, a lot of it.
Yeah,
whereas this felt like deeply serious in like a dumb vampire movie, which is a really weird time to be like, let's explore this.
And it felt like it was trying to explore a lot of things, and it was messy and confusing. And Get Out, I think, is probably one of the 10 best horror movies maybe ever.
Yeah, it's great.
And it is hugely enjoyable on a surface level, just as a movie, watching the kind of the excitement and the horror unfold.
Yeah.
And then there's, it's this amazing allegory for like what it's like to be a black man in white spaces, or a black person in white spaces, and it's doing all this amazing stuff under the surface. But it's because of how great a film it is in its own right that I am that I'm so curious about and buy into so much the bigger points that it's making.
Yeah. I made a list of things that got introduced and didn't go anywhere in the movie.
Right, okay.
Gold coins. Remember those?
Yeah.
What did they do? Nothing. Native American vampire hunters, which is pretty sick.
I quite like
They
them.
disappeared
I was sad
immediately.
That they didn't come back.
Yeah. The husband of Jamie Lawson's character.
I don't know who Jamie Lawson
Jamie
is.
Lawson was the love interest of Sammy, the musical guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, you married? And she's like, yeah, happily. He's like, we gonna fuck. Miles's magic music powers, what were they for? Why? What the vampire wanted, the Irish vampire.
Mm-hmm.
The priest dad kind of goes nowhere as well.
The
musical guy. Why is he in
the
there?
priest dad at
You
the
could
beginning
cut
of
him
the film.
completely. Also, why is the movie called Sinners when it's about community?
Well,
Who
I
are
think
the sinners?
I would say there's two. There's the sinners of the vampires are sinners because they're a sin against God, and then there's also this whole thing about music is a sin and following music is a sin, and they're all against him following music. And I was just like, I don't know, I just didn't buy into it or care. And
I didn't feel they ever like really explicitly spoke about sin or talked about sin in a way that was justified for making the whole movie make me think. Because I was like, to me, I was like, the film's more about community,
right?
And I'm thinking the whole time, but I'm like, is it saying they're sinners for being a community? I don't know.
It's a cool name though, sinners.
Yeah, it is, but that's not enough. And also the KKK guys.
It was fun getting to see the
KKK
guys killed at the end. But then also really ridiculous that Smoke, if that's who was left at the end, was just like
single-handedly just wipes them out.
I was just like, well, you're just gonna die now, and that's like you could just not die. You could just run away and not die.
Yeah, that's very true. Also, I did love that the KKK guys were like, "We'll attack them in broad daylight when it's also closed."
Yeah,
which they've even told you it's a nightclub.
Yeah,
why didn't you go?
Well, presumably because there would be
idiots.
too many people there.
I guess, but I don't know. Coming with an army with them, but because I thought like the movie could have been great. KKK vampires, that would have been a great movie.
Well, no, they were KKK. The two people that the Jack O'Connell, the Irish guy,
they became
stuff.
vampires.
Yeah,
they weren't KKK vampires.
Well, they were KKK people who became vampires.
Yeah, exactly, but that's different. I want KKK.
Okay, you want vampires who believe in the KKK.
Well, yeah, I'm like that's, and then also killing them at the end would be so. I think
vampires are too
like,
smart to be racist. But you got to be thick to be racist.
I don't know, but it just seemed to me I was like, I don't know. It would have been more fun killing all the KKK guys if they were also the vampires, because I felt like when you went from killing vampires, that was the conclusion of the movie, and then you just killing KKK guys at the end as well. It feels like two finales from two movies.
Yeah.
Whereas again,
I don't know. I thought it was a fun little extra thing, but I didn't add that much. Really stupid. So for me, really stupid things like a lot of people, their favorite scene apparently is the like musicians from across the years.
Oh, when they're like the future.
That was one of the moments where me and my girlfriend looked at each other like, can you believe this is happening? Where it pans and there's this futuristic guy with an electric guitar. I found that funny. So silly. And suddenly there's like a 90s guy with like DJ decks.
Yeah, and they're playing was it Snoop Dogg's? They've like mixed in Snoop Dogg's gin and juice. I think. I just thought that was so naff and silly. I was just like not, and it felt like it was like again just being like, look how fucking cool the power of music is, and I just like it didn't work for me at all. Then the Chinese lady who says to the vampires, invites all the vampires to their certain death. Just also so annoying. All they have to do is wait till dawn.
Yeah, and also it is nearly dawn.
The vampires can't get to your daughter because they fucking have to be invited in. I do think that could have been. I was like, that is a plot point that could have just been, if it was written better, would be fine.
Yeah, they could. They could have just written that better. Then the final scene where Sammy is about to be killed by the lead vampire. So there is a cool thing in that he's being dipped out in and out of the water like he's being baptized.
Yeah.
I was like, that's quite cool. But then Sammy saved the last minute by Smoke or whoever it is coming in and sticking him with a stake behind him. My girlfriend made the amazing point. They were in a fucking lake. Did the vampire not hear him go splosh, 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 splosh as he was walking up behind him?
Also, he would have had to have walked through all the other vampires as well.
There were loads of all the other vampires would go, hey, should we stop that guy with the big stake walking towards like big papa vampire?
Maybe they thought he was the other twin.
And then also, as soon as they kill the big vampire, the sun comes out. So surely all the vampires knew that the sun was about to come out and they were about to die.
They all just stood there.
And then they were like, oh no, bloody hell.
Forgot.
Really, really dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt...
Also, the head vampire's like running through the sunshine when he's first introduced.
Well, that's why he's like burning.
Yeah, but he burns.
Yeah, it burns at a totally different rate.
So quick that you'd be like, ugh. And he's like an inferno of fire. Yeah, I hate inconsistency.
Early in the movie, it's like he's got sunburn, and later in the movie, it's like
he's
you're
a
immediately
fireball
on
and
fire.
he dies. Yeah,
and also surely at dawn, the UV rays would be way less intense than in the middle of the day when he was.
Also, he's thousands of years old, right? He should know by now when he can be outside and when he can't.
Right.
He should have this down by now. Idiot.
Idiot. Anything else? The vampire speaking Chinese. That was mental.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
So many opportunities the vampires had to kill the people.
Yeah.
Like that moment where he's like killing his wife Annie. All the other vampires are there going like, why are you doing that?
No, the final fight
like,
is
just
terrible.
kill
They all just wait outside the barn for some reason. And also, like, you have like... Also, why just tell fucking Mr. Lindo cuts his wrists and is like, come get me. Do you remember? Right. He's like, I'll guard the staircase and then cuts his wrist. And you're like, the vampires aren't
they're
even...
Gonna eat
they're
you
not
anyway.
even attacking you. Like, there's just no point. No point whatsoever.
How did you feel about the Ku Klux Klan guy giving him a cigarette at the end?
Oh yeah, I don't know. So that's quite fun. I did like it when he's dying and he's seeing his babe. He's like between the two worlds, and then the KKK guy interrupts him, and then he just like unloads his whole magazine into him. I thought that was good. Yeah. Lots
of great moments, lots of very stupid moments that overall add up to an entertaining film, but
it's not that.
It is not the masterpiece that 95% of people are saying.
We're going to get loads of hate for this.
If anyone listens to our podcast, we are going to get loads of hate.
Loads of hate. I saw someone post a negative review of this on YouTube, and the comments would be brutal.
So this has This is my final thing that I'll say about it. This has currently 8.2 on IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
Here are other movies with 8.2 on IMDb. Vertigo. A Clockwork Orange. Taxi Driver. The Truman Show.
It'll be so good as if From Dusk Till Dawn is in there.
No, that'll be way lower. There Will Be Blood.
Okay.
Like the idea. No Country for Old Men. Pan's Labyrinth. Like a lot of these
also
movies.
It steals a scene from The Thing.
Bill.
It takes a scene from The Thing as well. You know, when they all have to eat the garlic.
Oh, right.
That's from The Thing where they test their blood.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Same.
A lot of those movies, like some of the best movies ever made.
Yes.
And
so what number is it?
It was a fun time. It's not, they don't add it until it's been up for a while, so they let the review score settle in, but it would be around about 130.
Wow. But people loved it. People be loving it. That's fine.
People loved it. You said people cheered in your cinema.
Yeah, people cheered and clapped. Not everyone, but there
Yeah.
were like maybe 5 people who were quite vocal about it.
Yeah.
Also, I thought that maybe Sammy was a real musician or something, because at the end, they had that post-credit scene.
Oh, yeah, no, that is a real musician
Oh, is he?
playing, I can't remember who he is, but it's a real musician playing old Sammy at the end.
Okay. That's okay, yeah. Because people cheered then. I wasn't sure he was.
And I think that's just also stupid, that bit. when it's like when the vampire's like, "Hey, we agreed not to kill you, so have fun." It just like makes the whole thing seem kind of trivial and dumb.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like,
it made like the vampires being forced to be this community just not true.
yeah,
You were like, they can do what they want.
and yeah.
So dumb.
We like our rules
We like our
in
rules.
films,
And all right,
that's
it's the end of the episode.
I believe that was actually my my SD card running out of space on my camera.
Okay, well, I guess we have to wrap up then.
We'll wrap up. I think we've said everything we need to say.
Yes. Goodbye.
On to the trying to find a film that Luke and I eventually do disagree on. It will come.
Never.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.